Hey, it's Webs here with day 2 of the Murder at Castle Nathria card reveals. This time we actually got an early stream by Kibler, and we actually got one of the suspects revealed along with the Covenant spell that goes along with him, which was actually spot on for something that I actually kind of guessed, or at least 50% spot on, because I did give it a 50-50 shot between two different Covenant abilities. So let's begin. The first card that was revealed is Volatile Skeleton, which is a 2-cost neutral minion with 2 attack, 2 HP, Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. So as a standalone card, this card is probably horrible. However, given some of the other cards that have been revealed for Mage in particular, this is an example of a card that might be neutral in theory, but truly is just a class card. The reason why I say this is horrible by itself, outside of the Mage deck that we'll be going over a little bit later, Naval Bomb actually exists and just does the job of this, but way better, and always hits your opponent's face, so there's no reason why you'd want to run this over Naval Bomb in most decks where you're trying to abuse Death Rattles as much as humanly possible. And speaking of abusing Death Rattles, the next card is Druid's Location, which is a 3-cost location card with 2 durability, called Hedge Mage. Trigger a friendly minion's Death Rattle. It's interesting to see that Druid is actually getting more Death Rattle support too. At this point, most classes actually in Standard Hearthstone has Death Rattle support, and probably the reason why that Baron Rivendare actually rotated out of Standard with the new rotation and was replaced with Bronzebeard. As it turns out, a lot of these cards would be a lot more abusable if you still had access to the Baron Rivendare. As it currently stands, Druid doesn't really have that many Death Rattles in it. There's just a bunch of neutral Death Rattles, and why would you run neutral Death Rattles in Druid when you could just run any of the other classes that have 10 times better Death Rattle synergy? However, given the fact that all the other suspects and locations have actually had synergy with each other, I would almost want to bet that this card is going to get at least additional support through the suspect and maybe even the Covenant spell. And it does make me wonder if the Covenant spell, which is named Convoke the Spirits, is actually going to give Death Rattles to each individual minion that you have on your board, and that might make it where it casts random spells like I had actually predicted in the prediction video. The next card revealed is Deathborn, which is Mage's Covenant spell. It is a 6-cost frost spell that deals 2 damage to all enemies. Summon a 2/2 Volatile Skeleton for each killed. So in niche cases, this is probably better than Blizzard. However, in most decks outside of a skeleton deck, which will be seeing a lot of support in this set, I don't know if this will actually see play over something like Blizzard, as Blizzard does allow you to protect your face by freezing all the minions. But if you can consistently get the summoned skeletons off of this is actually pretty good, given the fact that the skeletons themselves also have the stat line that they'll instantly die to whenever you use a second Deathborn. And I was actually kind of right when I guessed that Deathborn or the Mirrors of Torment was going to be the Covenant spell for Mages, which is actually pretty cool to see. I did get the fact that it was going to be some type of AoE spell correct, but I did not actually predict the skeletons, which is actually pretty cool, as it does give another minion base type of deck for Mage, as that seems to be the direction that we're going with Mage right now. And for the next card revealed is more support for the same deck, Cold Case, which is a 4-cost frost spell for Mage that summons 2/2 Volatile Skeletons, and you gain 4 armor. I think this card is actually perfectly fine as a card overall, and actually fits in the skeleton deck really well. Though it also serves as a really good target for Questline Mage, which is a deck that I've been trying to make work for quite a while at this point, and maybe I'll revisit a Volatile Skeleton Questline deck once this actually comes out. Who knows? I do think the fact that this is only 4 mana and gives you 4 worth of stats and 2 times 2 damage off of their Death Rattles plus the 4 armor is actually pretty good, and honestly is a decent card. This could even see play, as I said, in other decks besides just the skeleton deck. The next card revealed is Mage's Location, which is Night Cloak Centum, which is a 3-cost location with 3 durability, freeze a minion, summon a 2/2 Volatile Skeleton, again more support for the skeleton deck, and honestly pretty good support for freeze Mage, as this does allow you to get some type of advantage off of freezing your opponent. This actually might make deep freeze a better of card, though I don't know if I'd want to run that in a freeze Mage deck yet, just given the fact we don't see as much freeze synergy in standard as I would like to run something like that, at least natively within a deck. And honestly, I think this one will probably see a lot of play if a skeleton deck actually becomes meta relevant. And finally, for the boss monster of it, Kelthuzad The Involuntable, which is a 8 cost legendary for Mage with 6 attack, 8 HP, Battlecry, resurrect volatile skeletons, any that can't fit on your battlefield instantly explode. So if this card actually costs 1 less, this would be insane with Brand Bronzebeard, though as it currently stands, this is technically a worse version of the original Dr. Boom, just given the fact that it is an 8 cost card and has a very similar effect, but doesn't have the high rolly of getting 4 damage off each individual skeleton. Though if you do summon enough skeletons throughout the game, this could be a lot better in theory, and if you can somehow mana cheat either this or Brand's Bronzebeard, you're going to be in a really good position. But as it currently stands, Mage doesn't really have that much mana cheat, at least for minions, and that's probably the thing that's going to hold this card back. But it is going to be a lot of fun to actually play around with, and especially because if we see even more skeleton spawning cards within this set, or even the mini set, we might hit a critical mass where you can just do 30 damage just guaranteed off of this card, off of the ones that can't actually fit on the battlefield. It really just depends on how many skeletons and how many cards that spawn skeletons will actually see. And now for the last Mage card, Frozen Touch, which is a 2 cost frost spell, deal 3 damage, infuse 3, add a frozen touch to your hand. This is actually pretty cool given the fact that we do see Skeleton Mage shaping up as a deck, and that deck is going to have a lot of minions and a lot of ways to actually generate additional minions. So this is a card that could just in theory go infinite if you do have enough minions to feed into the infuse. It also is a perfectly good card for Questline Mage, though you are going to have to run more minions in that type of deck, and I don't know if you would actually want to do something like that given the amount of space that would actually require. Maybe a Prince Renethal Questline Mage deck would be actually pretty cool to run a bunch of minions and stuff like this, so you can actually get infinite value, as this is kind of a frost equivalent to the Dragon Brain shot that Hunter actually had before it actually got nerfed, but this does have 1 additional damage and a little bit of a harder condition. For the next card revealed, I forgot this one existed, Baneful Visage, which is a 3 cost secret for Mage, that after an enemy minion attacks your hero, summon a copy of it to attack the enemy hero. This is actually really cool, similar to the idea of Mirrors of Torment as a covenant ability that could have possibly been for Mage, but it is cool to see actual secret Mage support, and we might actually see additional secret Mage support depending on how much room the Skeleton Mage support actually takes up. Though the one downside of a card like this is it has no School of Magic, which is a little bit annoying. It would have been cool if they added a shadow tag to it, just to give Mage a little bit more extra synergy with their hero card, but they might have been too afraid to do something like this, as this could in theory be very powerful. The next card that got revealed is Elitist Snub, which actually got changed from the initial reveal, which is why I'm using this image instead of just a normal card. It is a 5 cost Paladin minion with 3 attack, 4 HP, Battlecry. For each Paladin card in your hand, randomly gain Divine Shield, Lifesteal, Rush, or Taunt. So if you have 4 Paladin cards in your hand, this is instantly going to be a Divine Shield, Lifesteal, Rush, Taunt minion, which is actually pretty good. But if you aren't running a pure Paladin deck or close to a pure Paladin deck, this isn't always going to hit. The main issue with a card like this is it's going to be a really bad top deck if you have no cards in your hand, and that might make it where it doesn't actually see any play. If you can actually high roll with it, this is actually a really good card. However, given the fact that you're not going to always be guaranteed to have cards in your hand, this might not be worth it just because of the mana cost on it. The next card revealed, and the last one, is Priest's Location, which is a 3-cost location called Cathedral of Atonement with 3 durability. Give a minion +2/+1 and draw a card. This actually supports less priest, which is actually kind of cool, and it makes me wonder if the Covenant ability and the Suspect are also going to support that, and that makes a lot of sense given the fact that the carrying ability for priest does have the word boon in its name, which is usually associated with being a good thing. And honestly, this is probably a pretty decent card, though it is actually worse than some other cards could be for Blessed Priest, just because of the fact that you're giving it +2 attack and +1 HP. If it was swapped around, this would be really good for Blessed Priest, but as it currently stands, this is going to be something that you're going to want to use after you actually use Bless and not before you use Bless. Alright, so those were all the cards revealed so far. Let me know down below which cards you're looking most forward to actually playing, and for the most part, it's actually really cool to see the individual locations revealed so far, as they all have supported really interesting decks that might be seeing future support or have actually seen future support in other cards in this set. And like always, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time, bye bye.